Welcome, listeners. If you have ever hit that 3 p.m. at running on caffeine, wondering how you're supposed to pour into your family when you feel completely drained, this episode is for you. Cassie Groeschl is a holistic nutritionist, busy mom, and wellness coach on a mission to help women stop surviving and start feeling energized, nourished, and fully present for the life they're working so hard to build. With a master's degree in nutrition and a deep understanding of the real life chaos moms face, Cassie combines science backed strategies with real world practicality to help women ditch the overwhelm and embrace wellness that actually fits. We'll be talking about meal prep, realistic routines, and how to stop sacrificing your health for everyone else's. Because when you feel good in your body, everything else gets better too. So let's dive in. Cassie, I am so excited to talk with you today. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely. I'm excited to be here, Haley. Thanks for having me.
Wonderful. All right. Well, let's get into it. I always love to give our listeners a little bit of background about who our expert is, who we're talking about. How did you get to where you are today? So just tell us a little bit of your story.
Absolutely. So I am a mama dietitian, a mom of three beautiful children, two boys and a girl, and a wife as well. And for the past decade, I have had not just a full-time job, but at least one side gig or multiple side gigs going. So I started out as a corporate dietitian, and then I moved into healthcare sales, and then I switched gears and I consult at nursing homes, and I continue to do that. And I also taught at a university. So I'm your typical passionate, sometimes chronic overachiever who says yes to everything. And I feel like I need to do everything. And I was able to juggle it all pretty well until I had kids. And I feel like with each child that we added to our family, it became harder and harder for me to have the energy to put into my family, but also work, of course. So long story short, I just got really overwhelmed and exhausted with this schedule, this crazy schedule that I've created for myself. And I was just crabby when I was with my kids and snapping, and I wasn't really enjoying the person that I was, and I didn't want to be that kind of mom and wife. And so I ended up quitting my full-time job at the university so that I could lean more into my business, Wellness That Fits, working with busy moms on their health and with meal prep. I really feel like this past year has been about me trying to figure out what it is that I really value, realizing what my true priorities were, and then looking at this whole past decade or so where it felt like at times my priorities weren't aligned, or my calendar wasn't aligned with my priorities, like what I said I value, it wasn't showing up on my calendar. And so I've spent the past year or so just realizing what that means to me, and then making time for not just health and nutrition, but for the things that matter to me. And then I help busy moms do the same thing. And that's why I'm so passionate about nutrition and wellness and meal prep, is because I can help women gain their time back, like cut their time down in the kitchen and gain their time back. So where I am in a nutshell and a little bit of my background.
I love it. Thank you for sharing that, Cassie. I think so many of us moms feel that same way, right? At one time or another. It's like, as many of our listeners are entrepreneurs, we're all multi-passionate. We're like, oh, I have this idea and that idea, and I'm going to do this and that over here. And we tend to just put so many things on our plate and care for everyone else before ourselves. And so what you're doing, I think, is so important because you're helping women just take that step back and take care of themselves while also taking care of their families. Because when we feel aligned in how we show up, when we're putting things in our body that are actually helping us, everything starts to get a little bit easier. So I know I have definitely felt overwhelmed when it comes to food, feeding the family, taking care of all the things, right? Finding time for it all. And meal prep for me has always felt like this like big scary thing, or I don't want to eat the same thing every day. So is there something that you teach that maybe can help with this? Because I'm sure I'm not the only one feeling that way.
You are absolutely not the only one feeling that way. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I would say the biggest struggle is exactly what you said. Like people don't want to start meal prep because it sounds overwhelming, or they think it's going to be boring, or they think it's going to take way too much of their time up. And they're like, how am I going to fit that into my schedule? I'm already so busy. Or they feel like it wouldn't work with their lives because they're in a season of life maybe where they're not home. And so they're going from event to event. And really, I think, once you start going and start meal prepping, you'll start to notice that it actually cuts down a lot of time that you spend in the kitchen, or because it kind of goes two ways. Either you're not really spending any time in the kitchen and you're just getting takeout or frozen meals or carry out. But if you are spending time in the kitchen prepping meals nightly, you realize that meal prep, if you we can talk about it in a little bit, but like meal prep could mean a bunch of different things. It could mean you are spending an hour or two on a Sunday and prepping the majority of your foods, or it might mean just doing a little bit of prep at one time and then doing the rest of it throughout the week. So whatever people do, I feel like it absolutely cuts down on your meal prep time. And if you think about it, like you're making meals every single night, the amount of dishes that you're creating, when if you just do it all at once, like batch working, like I'm obsessed with batch working because I feel like you can be more focused and get more done. And so if you're thinking about all the dishes that you create, you're going to create the dishes once, clean them up and be done. And a lot of times what it just means is reheating foods, or even just cutting up the majority of your veggies. And then all you have to do is fry it in a pan or bake it. There are strategies for sure that can reduce the overwhelm, like utilizing a bunch of different cooking equipment in order to spend your time wisely and be more efficient in the kitchen. And then also, I think when you touch on the boringness of meal prep, I honestly, like about 2 years ago, I felt the same thing. My husband and I travel a lot, but he works from home. And it's like, okay, I'm not going to stack up 5 lunches and eat the same thing every day in these same containers. Like that sounds so boring to me. And so a huge thing that I teach is prepping these core ingredients that can create flexible and diverse meals. So
Mm,
like, let's say you prep 2 grains and you do like quinoa and brown rice, and you prep maybe 2 proteins, 2 or 3 proteins. Maybe you do some salmon and some chicken and some venison or beef or something. And then you use them and mix and match them in a number of ways. Now, I don't do that 100% of the time. Sometimes I just make soup or I just make a lasagna. But I think the prepping of those core ingredients reduces the amount of all the decision fatigue of like, how many sides do I need to make? I need to make all these different things. Everything needs to be its own component. And it's just overwhelming doing it that way. So prepping core ingredients to then mix and match, like you might have a shredded chicken stir fry with brown rice. And then you might use that shredded chicken in a quinoa chickpea Mediterranean bowl with feta. So that's how I prep things in my kitchen. And I have found that it has just helped a ton. And then placing things in bins so the whole family knows, okay, this bin is where all the Mediterranean salad stuff is. So I just feel like there are so many ways to do it that reduces overwhelm, gives you your time back, and really just allows you to spend the time and do what you want. And like for those, I had mentioned people who are in the season of life where they're going from event to event. I think prepping some snacks, some really healthy snacks ahead of time, as well as like easy grab and go meals, are so key to keep you away from that takeout line like all the time, or drive through. Like, because obviously it's okay every once in a while. We're all busy people. But I think when it starts adding up and you're doing it multiple times a week, it can really impact your health. I mean, it's not news to anybody that eating out and not eating homemade meals has contributed to a lot of health conditions and overeating and things like that. So I am just a huge proponent of meal prep because I am a busy mom and I don't have tons of time either. And I'm stretched in a number of ways and wear all these hats. And if I don't meal prep, oh my goodness, my week is like I'm coming home on a Monday from work and I am so exhausted. And I'm like, I don't want to even think about, meal prep or food or whatever. And so it's nice to have something in my fridge ready to go. So though it seems overwhelming, once you get in the swing of things, it saves you so much time.
I love that. And I love that you brought it to like when you have things prepped, you're more likely to go for the healthier foods than
Mhm.
you are for the snacky, not so good, or the drive through or the pickup, right? Like I have 4 little boys that eat all of the time. And so wherever we go, I pack a snack cooler because I know they're going to be hungry as soon as we get in the car. And we also have a ton of allergies. Mostly it's just the twins, but I think it's important to, like you said, just have those things prepped. And you're giving me so many ideas. I love the idea of your proteins, your veggies, and you can make different meals with it so that it doesn't feel like, ugh, I have to have the same thing. Because that's what I think of in my mind when I think of meal prep. But doing it in the way where you're suggesting, where you still get a variety of different flavors and things, but you're not having to think about it every single night, right? And
Mhm.
decision fatigue is big, especially in the world we're living in. We have to make the choices for everything. We're the ones making the decisions. So when we can cut down on that, that feels powerful.
Mhm.
So I want to go back to, how do you decide, or do you write down a meal calendar? Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so I do have a method that I have developed myself that it started out as a Google spreadsheet where I was like, I just need to write down what I want to make this week so that I can place my grocery order, which by the way, I highly recommend doing a pickup order or delivery if you can. I know it's a little bit more costly, but pickup saves so much time. But anyway, I started out mapping it out on Google Sheets. And then I started really thinking about the core requirements for long-term health. So what food components do we need for long-term health outcomes? We know a variety of whole grains, leafy greens daily, berries, all of these things help with cognitive function, which to me is at the top of my list. Like, chronic disease, absolutely. We want to reduce our risk of diabetes and cardiovascular disease and some of the other top chronic diseases in our country. But for me, cognitive function and reducing brain fog as a busy mom was like top of my list. And so, there are eating patterns for cognitive function, and it's largely based around the Mediterranean style eating pattern. And so I'm not a proponent of putting people on diets or anything like that, but healthy eating patterns in general that we know are well researched, are good for us, like the Mediterranean style eating pattern. And so I really started thinking about the meals that I was making and making sure that, like, okay, I think I'm eating healthy. I'm a dietitian, but are the components of food that are associated with long-term health outcomes, are they showing up on my meal plan? And so what I did was I created this Google spreadsheet of leafy greens and berries and making sure that I am purchasing X amount of leafy greens and using them and making sure that they're on the schedule every day, the meal plan every day, and so on and so forth with each of the foods. Like whole grains, we know we need to eat a variety of whole grains. In America, we eat way too much wheat and corn. And so can we add more quinoa, brown rice, farro, some different things into our meal plan? And so I think it's really important to set your pantry up for success. I just did a refresh on that, like a pantry refresh, to make sure that we're setting our pantry up for meal prep success. I think it definitely should be showing up in our weekly meal plan. And so I teach all of this in my Busy Mom Meal Prep course. Because again, it's so important as busy moms. I feel like we're constantly worried about little kids, like, are they getting enough iron? Are they getting enough nutrients? Do I need to put them on a multivitamin? All of the things. And then for ourselves as well, because I just know as moms, we tend to we put our family first, and that's a good thing, right? And it doesn't mean that we shouldn't ever take care of ourselves. But what I really like about meal prep is we are planning for those healthy choices, like you said, like you're planning to make the healthy choice first. And so we're taking care of our family, but we're also taking care of ourselves in that way. So it's like a self-care that hits two birds with one stone. So, yeah.
Yes, I love that. And as you're saying that too, I was laughing because the leafy greens, I always cut up salad greens really small and put them in things. And I just tell my kids it's seasoning and then they're okay with it. But if I tell them that it's spinach or something, they're like, I'm not eating that. So I just cut it up really small, mix it in with things and hide it. But that way they're still getting it.
Mhm.
Uh, and so I think that's important. I also know I need to incorporate those foods more. I think sometimes we fall back to those staples, and a lot of what we're doing is still homemade, but just adding more of those things that set you up for long-term health, which I didn't really think of, and just finding easy ways to incorporate them. I think the other thing that I've noticed over the last year or two, like changed our diet, started doing more whole foods, more making things from scratch. Everybody's moods have changed. Our kids'
Mhm.
behaviors have gotten so much better. They're not getting sick as often. I even think our twins who have asthma and allergies, like that has all gotten better. And I fully believe it's because we've been eating healthier. Do you see that a lot as well?
100%. I love that you said that because when you actually hear people talk about like the three things you just said, mood and behavior would be like one, the immune system and allergies. I mean, it is eating healthy and especially in the way that I was just talking about, like whole grains. Let me list some more of the things so people are aware.
Yeah.
Um, Lean proteins, and especially if you can, fatty fish like salmon, tuna, sardines, things like that. Plant proteins are also important, but lean proteins and whole grains, a variety of whole grains, berries. So obviously fruits are great for you. Eat a variety, but berries are especially healthy for you. And then a variety of veggies, eat the rainbow, and then leafy greens daily, nuts and seeds, probiotics. I know I listed a lot of things there, but I don't think any of those things are big surprises to people. We hear that those are the healthy foods. But the reason that you just said, the mood and behavior, immune system, and allergies is because of gut health. Everybody's heard of gut health. And when you are giving your gut, the good bacteria in your gut are thriving on foods like those that I just listed, the probiotics, the fiber in the fruits and veggies, and also the fiber in the whole grains. Whole grains have more nutrients in it. And so they're thriving on those things. When we're feeding our bodies highly processed, high sugar, high sodium foods, it's actually feeding the bad bacteria in our gut. Now, don't get me wrong, we need a balance of both. But when we're eating poorly, that balance it goes out, our microbiota go out of balance, and then we have more gut bacteria. And if people are wondering, why do we care about the good bacteria? The good bacteria in your gut contributes to better mood. It contributes to a stronger immune system, which then is aligned with having possibly allergies. Not always, but a lot of times it could help it. And it's associated with just that feeling of being full and satiety. And so when we're giving ourselves the proper amount of protein, fiber, healthy fats, it does so much more for our body than just like keeping us fit or keeping us in shape. It does wonders for neurological and cognitive development in kids, but also fighting memory loss and helping with that brain fog that many moms have and parents in general. And so gut health is absolutely so important. And I really a huge, strong believer, food is medicine. And so I am doing food first for everything for my clients. Where can we put more probiotics like the Greek yogurt, sauerkraut, kimchi, kombucha, things like that? I got to tell you something funny about kombucha. So I don't know if anybody drinks it in your family, but I drink it nightly because I'm trying to get, again, long-term health outcomes. I try to have it twice a day. I have kombucha, and then my daughter has a little shot glass of kombucha every single night with me, and she just
I love
loves
it.
it. And so when you're talking about, cutting things up small and putting it in kids' foods, like we as moms want to do whatever it takes to get our kids to eat these healthy foods, as we should. We should try different things. But one thing I wanted to touch on is just like the amount of times that you introduce the foods to them. And so, for example, somebody will be like, my kids hate broccoli, so I'm not going to make it anymore. They just throw it out every time. Okay, that's understandable. I hate food waste. I hate food waste. I am sustainable. It kills me to like throw stuff out. But I would say try roasted broccoli, steamed broccoli, try it raw. There might be some kids who have sensory things who the crunch. Try it with a Greek yogurt ranch dip or something. Like make sure that you are making it in a number of ways and introducing it to your kids in a variety. And guess what? Do my kids say, yes, mom, thank you for making Brussels sprouts. Like, no, they don't. My little girl, actually, she's a crazy good eater. She asked for it last night off of my plate. I'm like, all right. But here's another reason why I love meal prep. This week, I chopped up romaine because my kids eat salads and it's a very mild leafy green. Like it's spinach is a little bit, a little potent for little kids. So I chop up romaine. And then last night I gave them the option of romaine salad or Brussels sprouts, and they all chose a salad. And then my little girl asked me for Brussels sprouts. The reason I meal prep also is because I don't want to be a short order chef. But guess what? As a mom, I'm not going to lie and sugarcoat it. I am sometimes. And
Mhm.
what makes it easier, because I want to make sure my kids get in their fruits and veggies and things like that. What makes it easier is all I have to do from the fridge is open a container and dump it on their plate. I'm not spending time in front of a frying pan doing all these things. I am prepping foods that I always have one or two things on hand I know they'll eat. And then they always have to try like something new, or you have to try a broccoli, you have to try a Brussels sprout or butternut squash, whatever I'm making, my kids know, and it's a habit now. And yeah, I think it's really important to have that diversity and to introduce different things to the kids so that it's not a surprise to them. Like, I know mom's going to have me try one thing this week or two things this week, whatever it might be. And even if they say no, or they don't like it, or they throw a fit, you are trying, you are introducing it to them, and they're being exposed to a variety of foods, which is really important.
Yes, so important. And we do that as well. And just like we do a lot of sheet pan meals, so like roasting veggies or doing it raw. And it's funny you say that about broccoli because one of my twins was like, every time we get broccoli, whether it's raw or steamed, if we did it steamed, he's like, I only like it raw if we do it raw. I only like it steamed. And then it was like, I don't like it at all. And then he must have learned about broccoli at school the other day and came home and he's like, I love broccoli. Can we have broccoli tonight? I was like, okay. So that's all it takes is learning about it, having someone else tell you it's good, and then you'll eat it. But
Well, kids are like that. I mean, let's say you finally get them, you find the raw, you think find the prep method that they like. They're going to change their mind next week. And so like that's the nature of the game. Is this perfect? No, but do what you can every week to give them that variety and give them those options. And you had mentioned like they change their minds a lot. My son will eat a whole, like when he was 3 years old, he's 4 now, but like he'll eat a whole fillet of salmon. And last night I made it and he's like, I don't know, mom, I don't really like the topping. And it's like, you love salmon no matter what. So kids change their minds all the time, and you kind of got to roll with the punches. And that's why it is good to have variety. But to your point, it can be difficult to like make, you have your staples that you make, but to always be introducing new ideas and new recipes, it can get overwhelming. But I would say having a plan ahead of time, or anytime you see a recipe, whether it's online or whatever, have a place to save it, whether it's a Google Doc or something, just so that when your mind is fried and you're putting in a grocery order, you're like, okay, here I saw this one recipe that used, I don't know, a leafy green in a fun way that I think the kids would like. So, yeah, that meal planning is half the battle, I'd say.
yeah, I love that. I know. And my husband is actually usually the chef around here. He used to be a chef and so he cooks, but he's like, you need to give me the ideas and I will cook them. So I need to start saving recipes and doing more of that prep. But what would you say for the women listening? Maybe a shift that they could make if they're feeling really overwhelmed about this, or a small step they can take so that they start feeling better about it. And because, like you said, when we start fueling our bodies with healthy foods, like we all know we should, but just the brain fog that can be lifted, the energy we have, it helps us show up better in our businesses too.
Mhm.
So maybe without overhauling a whole routine, where would you say someone could start?
Yeah, and like you said, it's so important to me because I know nutrition can literally fuel your goals. Like we have to have energy as moms, but especially as entrepreneurs, there is so much task switching and decisions. The amount of decisions you have to make on a daily basis is just out of control. And so nutrition can absolutely, I mean, there's so much research behind nutrition helping with your cognitive function and your memory. And so if somebody is just really overwhelmed, like you said, and they just need, what's a first simple step I can take? And so if you are coming at this as like, I can't meal prep because you're coming at an all or nothing approach or attitude where, okay, if I'm going to meal prep, I need to have breakfast, lunch, supper, everything done. Well, of course, you're going to become overwhelmed and frustrated really fast. So the best way to get started with anything is one super stupidly simple step at a time, because that's going to build the confidence and flex that, like, I can do this muscle. And that's what creates sustainable habits. So for somebody who's like, just give me one little thing that I can do to get started, I would say I'll give you 3 simple things to get started. So the first thing that you could do when you get home from whether you're grocery shopping or a grocery store run, before you put anything away, wash your fruits and veggies. You don't even have to cut up your veggies. Just wash them. Take them out of the bag, wash them, put them wherever they're supposed to go, whether they're in the fridge or on the counter. So simple, but like when you think about opening your fridge and there's like a bag of apples and you're like, I literally need to get out the door. I'm already late. Like, I got to get the kids to school. You're not going to grab the apple that you have to take 10 seconds to wash. You're only going to grab the, as stupid as it sounds, but it's true.
So true.
It's so true. You're like, I don't have 10 seconds. And so wash everything at once, because just imagine the time, like you imagine yourself pulling an apple from the fridge, washing it 10 seconds, drying it, putting it away, and doing it again. That actually wastes so much more time. Do everything at once, dry it, put it away, right? So like simple, stupid, simple step to do first. Another thing I would say, so one more idea is to make a double batch of just like one protein. So like, let's say you have chicken on the menu this week, just double batch it. Whether you want to double batch your whole meal or just like the protein, I would say like, and the most hands-off approach that I do all the time is just like put chicken breast in a crock pot and let it cook, because I don't have to touch it. I don't have to look at it. I know when it's done, put it on low and then shred it, put it in the fridge. I can use it in sandwiches, salads, bowls, Mediterranean bowl, gyros, whatever it might be. And so batch a protein, your favorite protein. And then the third thing that you can do is just like chop your veggies that you need for like one meal. Chop them ahead of time. So like I just mentioned, Brussels sprouts. Sometimes you don't even have to if you're just going to steam them. But if you're going to saute them or something and you want to cut them in half, literally open the bag, cut your Brussels sprouts in half, put it in a glass container or something in the fridge. It will save you like 5 minutes, because every minute counts when you're coming home from a day of work. You're exhausted. The kids are screaming. You have to unpack the backpacks and open up the folders and see, do we have to practice for something tomorrow? Is there a test tomorrow? And then your kid is yelling about this. And there's so much chaos going on that like, even 5 minutes, you're like, I am not chopping the Brussels sprouts right now. It's just not happening, right? Like that has happened to me so many times. And that's, I think, why a lot of like people, they'll meal plan and they have this like, or they go grocery shopping, maybe not meal plan. They go grocery shopping and they're like, I'm going to eat healthy this week. And they get a bag of spinach and a bag of this and kale and all this. And then it rots in the back of the fridge because either they didn't make a plan to use it, or they probably didn't prep it in some way ahead of time. Like spinach, you don't really have to prep, right? But like some of the other foods like peppers or something that you have to chop, they didn't prep it ahead of time. And then, when they're exhausted and trying to make healthy decisions, when their brain is fried, it's just not happening. So like set yourself up for success and do just one of those 3 things. I have so many more ideas, but.
But I think that's helpful. It's just knowing that it's okay to start simple, but it's like using that muscle like everything else. We're building the habits, but like you said, I fully believe that food fuels our bodies, fuels our goals, fuels everything to set us up for success. And speaking of success, that's what our show is all about, is really like defining our own success. Like, who gets to say what it really means for us? And so I always like to ask all of my guests, what does success mean for you now? Or how do you define it as a mom, a business owner, someone that's really building your life?
So when I hear the word success, my brain is wired to think of revenue goals, achievements, accolades, just being an expert. So I've really had to rewire my brain because in this season of my life, success looks different than that. I have stepped away from my full time work, like I said, and I'm spending more time taking care of my family and also running two different businesses. And so to me, success is having peace of mind. Success is like when I can take care of my family and business and not have like this running to-do list on my mind all the time, especially when I'm with my family. And that's really hard for me to do most days because if I'm being honest, like I I need to think about, like, am I moving the needle on my business goals and also in my family? And am I able to separate those 2 and shut off my business brain so that I can be present with my family outside of working hours? That has been my biggest struggle, and so that truly, to me, is how I would define success, is being able to separate the 2 and have peace of mind that what I get done is enough.
I love that. That really hits home for me too, is I think just like being present. Like that's what I've been working on a lot is like when
Mhm,
I am with my family, I am present, right? Like shutting that business brain off. When I am in my business, I am present. I am focused on my clients and, getting that message out there. But sometimes it's really hard if we have deadlines over here or we got something over here and nothing ever really goes as planned when you have a family either. So it's like
mhm.
we have to be okay with sometimes going off track, but knowing that everything is working out for us. And as long as we have that definition of success in our mind and we're always come back to, okay, what does it look like? What's my overall vision and how I want to show up? And just making sure that's aligned, I think is what is most important. So thank you for sharing that because I think it's important. We all, of course, have these revenue goals. Like we need money to fuel the things that we do for our family, with our businesses, how we give back, all the things, but it has to go deeper than that. So thank you for sharing. All right, Cassie. Well, I know that you have so many resources for your people and how you guide your clients to really make meal prep feel easy and sustainable and just doable so that we can feel better overall. So I'll have all the links in the show notes, but I think you have a nice little guide that can help some of the women listening. So why don't you share more about that for us?
Yeah, so I did mention already, I have my Busy Mom Meal Prep course, but I think to get the gears turning and get you starting to meal prep or think about ways to have nutrition fuel your goals, I created a healthy snack guide, whether they might be a few recipes that you have to make ahead of time or things that you just purchase that are ready to go that can help fuel your goals and stabilize blood sugars and things like that. So that will be linked in the show notes. You can find out more at wellnessthatfits.com.
I love that. I am all about snacks. We have
And our
snacks.
kids are too. So it's like we have to have snacks. Like whenever I make snacks for my kids, they're really adult snacks too. I mean, I make them like healthy with protein and fiber so that we all can eat them in the family.
Oh, same. And then working from home, like I feel like sometimes if I just don't want to focus on what I'm doing anymore, I go up and grab a snack. And so the more healthy snacks that I have, the better it is for me. So,
Mhm. Absolutely same.
oh, I love it. Well, thank you so much, Cassie. I had a ton of fun talking with you today, and I know our listeners got so much out of it. So, thank you for sharing all of your knowledge and wisdom with us today.
Thank you so much, Haley. I had a blast. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.